Hey, 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 hey. I'm going to update you on some more Hong Kong news, some more violence, some more action. Over the weekend, there were some nasty clashes, some brutal violence breaking out for that part of the world, or, for that area of the world, especially Hong Kong. So take a listen. Shut your mouth, open your ears. Okay, so more news in Hong Kong. What is going on? So, first off, let me just tell you what I saw. There was a horrific looking scene breaking out on a place in Hong Kong. I believe it was a rail station, one of their subway stations. And let me describe it to you. So, in this video, you see a bunch of guys in white shirts. They're wearing black or blue pants. Don't know what kind of pants, doesn't really matter. And they are chasing down this one guy. He's in the middle of all of them trying to get away, and they're just beating the shit out of him. And it looks like they were using, it's hard to say, but it looks like, pardon me, they were using, small clubs, umbrellas. A lot of this stuff didn't look like it was too heavy, but they were kicking him, punching him, beating him. And the caption said that he was an innocent dude just getting through the railway station. Then I saw another video where there were a bunch of people on a subway train, and they were getting attacked similarly by people in white shirts. Again, white shirts, blue and black pants. A lot of them have their faces covered, and they've got all kinds of things in their hands, like maybe small like metal objects, wooden objects, all kinds of stuff, and almost look like batons of some kind. And they're just beating people indiscriminately. So there are several of these videos going around. And one thing that's going on right now is people are trying to figure out what is going on. Is this government? Is this... So I'll tell you some of the speculation. So there is speculation that one, it's government officials, like maybe military officials, that are dressed up in these uniforms, and they are being sent out to put down the protests so that way nobody knows it's the military. That's one. And then there's another theory floating around that it is the triads, like the Chinese mafia, and that the Chinese mafia is being paid by Beijing to go out and beat the shit out of protesters in order to quell the protests and to bring peace back and order back to Hong Kong. So obviously, there are still protests going on in Hong Kong. I've mentioned before, people are still upset that the Carrie Lam is still in her governing position. She is the head executive of Hong Kong. They want her to resign. They also want her to not just table the vote for the extradition bill to China. They want the whole bill done away with. And I don't know what that would be considered in their legal terms, but they want the bill permanently discarded from the legislature. They don't just want the vote temporarily suspended. So they've continued on. Also, as I've said in previous podcasts, they are continuing to protest over things that happened during the previous protest. So like police violence, stuff like that. Well, now the police are being somewhat absent. So the police aren't beating the shit out of people anymore. But now these mysterious fellows in white shirts are doing the job. So what's going on here? Gonna read some ads, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, do you want to record your own podcast like me? Well, Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. That's right, mofos. It's easy. Check it out. So, I've mentioned before that the theories floating around are that this is either military officials or gang members. But whatever they are, They're making sure they're not in uniform, or they're not in an identifiable uniform except the white shirts. So why might they be doing this? To give you some context, this is a very sensitive issue. So in the West, like say in the U.S., it would be acceptable with some protest to have, like the military, or not the military, but the police out there in guard, whatever. The reason that this is so sensitive is because China, the Tiananmen Square, this is what I think, is that because of that protest, the world is not going to forget that anytime soon. And so China, Beijing, is very hesitant to have official uniformed officers do anything too oppressive to the protesters. Now, what's interesting was they seem to, I kept reading articles about how the in Hong Kong, the PLA, People's Liberation Army, mainland China, Beijing was not going to send in anybody. Also, I got to be honest, I thought the protests were going to die down. I didn't realize they were going to keep escalating like this. But now there are videos showing people in white shirts talking to the police. The white shirts are the ones beating people, and the police kind of directing them. Just some shots here and there. Not like smoking gun evidence necessarily, but it's close enough. And these people in white shirts it looks like they're being used as an arm of the police or the government to get things done without officially blaming the police. And it's actually kind of working because everybody knows that something's up, right? Everybody knows that these thugs in white shirts are not, this isn't an organic movement. They're not an organic movement of counter-protesters. They're legitimately thugs. But nobody knows exactly who they are, where they're coming from. Are they triad members? So are they gang members? Are they mafia members? Are they military from the PLA? Are they undercover Hong Kong police? Right? Nobody knows. And that makes it much harder for the Hong Kong citizens and civilians to do anything about. Because what do they do? Who do they get angry at? Now they are being upset because there's not enough arrests. So earlier, there were no arrests after these people were beating the shit out of innocent people indiscriminately. Now I'm reading an article, and it says 5 arrests over Hong Kong mob attacks. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it says, 6 arrests, just updated 3 minutes ago. 6 arrests over Hong Kong mob attacks as districts become ghost towns amid fears of more violence. Police have arrested 6 men on suspicion of unlawful assembly in relation to the attacks in Yuen Long on Sunday night. A police spokesperson told reporters that men were aged 24 to 54, and several had triad backgrounds, while more arrests are expected. Hours after an anti-extradition march ended in police protester clashes on Hong Kong Island, the group of masked men battered residents, journalists, and a lawmaker, leading to 45 injuries. Police stand accused of delaying their arrival and condoning the actions of the mob. On Monday evening, local shops and bank branches in several New Territories districts shut their doors early, and few pedestrians were seen on the streets. It came as rumors circulated online throughout Monday of further organized violence. Police patrols, rumors of further organized violence. So a lot of shops and businesses are shutting down because they are fearing these mobs. Like I said, the triad members that are people suspect. Police patrols were frequently spotted in Yuen Long, while civilians were seen organizing patrol groups at Shatin's Newtown Plaza amid rumors of planned mob attacks. Halls at the Chinese University of Hong Kong and the Student Union of the University of Hong Kong also arranged temporary accommodation for students who lived in the territories. Let's see. Meanwhile, Hong Kong Economic Times, blah, blah, blah. Interesting. Meanwhile, so it looks like it says that the arrests that were done, several had triad backgrounds. So it looks like that fuels the speculation that the triads are being backed up by Beijing to quell the protests. Now, I got to say, obviously, this is I don't agree with this tactic, but I would say this is a smart tactic on Beijing's part if that's what they're doing, right? Once again, that's horrible. Nobody should be doing this, and I do not support that at all. But sneaky, man, very sneaky. Of course, we've seen this in other places before, but we'll see how this turns out. Anyway, so that's just an update of what's going on in Hong Kong. And what's interesting is I talked to somebody who lives over in China, and the Hong Kong issue is just so interesting, right? I've talked before about how I really don't see how this ends well for the people of Hong Kong, because no matter what, it's going to be returned to mainland China regardless. So the treaty that Beijing signed with the British was a 50-year treaty that there would be the two systems, right? The one country, two systems policy, two different legal systems and all that, political systems. And but they've only got like 18 years left. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that 18 years, they should live up to that. But I just don't know what happens after that 18 years, right? I mean, because the people of Hong Kong are not going to want to live under the control of Beijing. And this seems kind of like, to me, the last-ditch effort to say fuck off. But to be honest, who knows, right? So the thing about these protests is that they could damage Hong Kong's business-friendly environment reputation. That's already been slightly damaged because it's going to be returned to Beijing. It could damage it further. Another thing is if these clashes continue over the next 18 years, intermittently, then I just don't see how Hong Kong remains such an important financial center in the world. It's just going to be too risky. And that'll be a shame. I will have been glad that I did visit the place, though, before it got like that. I can tell you this. When I was in Hong Kong, one thing that I can say about it for sure was that I felt like I was in the center of the world. I don't know why that is. Like, I've been to New York. I've been to big cities around the world. But I never had the feeling like I had in Hong Kong. I don't know why that is. Like, I've been to Shanghai, Beijing, Bangkok, different big cities in America, Europe, Spain. But never did I feel like I was in the center of things happening than when I was in Hong Kong. And it'll be a shame if and when that changes. But it looks like it is changing, guys. So that's all I got to say for today for China, for the East. News of the East via me. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you.